Hello and welcome back to Bricking It. Today it's the final part of our Diagon Alley in a Moment MOC, and we're looking at Gringotts Bank, which although it doesn't fold away like all of the others, does get hidden behind a series of book covers on the shelf. So let's get started. So it's always good to start at the bottom. Here's the base, fairly simple construction, as is basically the entire thing. No real special build techniques. You can see that it matches in depth 10 studs with the Hogwarts Moments books, so it can store around the shelf and be flush with all of them. This piece here is just for use for security, and really, other than with the back, the whole build is held on with just one stud at the front. You can see the way it's built. There is nothing special about this build at all. It's just 3 walls. We've got hinges here just to provide our wall angle. You can just see just behind the step there's another hinge for that wall. So it's 3 straight walls, and then I use these panel pieces in the back to maintain the rigidity up the top. By and large, this MOC is designed to appear similar to the latest version of Gringotts, but pays homage to the previous versions as well. So we've got one stud at the front here just to support the steps, and that really just holds it in place. The back of the MOC, hidden behind the book covers, you can just see the bottoms of the brackets, and those brackets attaching to the base, and that's really all that secures the MOC onto the base. Because of the angled walls, they do tend to want to flap about, so that security piece I was talking about just pops onto that stud and just stops that wall from wanting to toe out from the side. So we can have a look at some of the build techniques we used. And here, starting at the bottom level, got this large support piece sticking out of the wall here. And that was actually based on the original artist model for when they were building the set of Gringotts. And it's supposed to be a brick built construction, but I just made it out of these slopes. And on the side here, just to fill up the gap, because obviously it would be at a strange angle. The angle doesn't quite match, but it makes much better use of the space than just leaving a big gap. And those are just snot mounted onto the side of our wall piece. Moving around to the front of the build, it's again, like I said, modelled after the latest version of Gringotts Bank that's just been released. So I use the same basic style of building techniques to hold the columns in, which is just a modified plate with a clip on the top, and then a little minifig action grip into the bottom of the pillars. Here we can see the much more simplified version of how they create the awning. If you've built the latest Gringotts Bank, you'll know it's a slightly more complex build than this. And despite this being incredibly simple, I'm making a real meal of attaching it back onto the top here. So just a couple of snot bricks on each side, and then on the front just built up the arch with regular plates. These stickers are actually reproductions, and they are imitations of the 2011 Diagon Alley set. I was trying to find original stickered pieces or original stickers, but just weren't any available. To make this trim piece go all the way around, again we've just got a couple of snot bricks, and then we're using tile, and then we've got these ingot pieces on the end just to sort of hide the join. And it worked out quite nicely that the level at which I put my awning was the perfect level when I decided to disguise it. It was pure luck. I hadn't planned it initially at this stage. I just wanted there to be a bit more continuity from the front to the sides, and I decided to expand and unify the details all the way around, and the Lego maths was on my side for a change. Second level is the most straightforward of all. The columns are straight. Banister again, matching the style used by the latest Gringotts Bank. Simply held on with one stud. Here at either side we see we've got the lanterns styled to match Diagon Alley. They're just snot bricked onto the side of the building, and the construction is just the same yet again as in the latest Gringotts Bank. So yeah, the pillars are just held in with one round stud, just to help keep the levels even. We've got these large windows in the side, and they do invite me a little bit to maybe put some form of interior detail in. Here on the top level, the wonky columns tend towards leaning the other way, and if I just remove the cupola here, you can see how they kind of fit in. Just again on those action hand grips clipped in, and even the window is wonky, yet again mimicking that latest version of Gringotts. Now the top part here doesn't have quite as much dome as I'd like, but until they release those larger 4x4s and make them more available, it's going to have to be a lot smaller. And here we can see how our pillars just slot in to the gap. We'll have a look at a bit closer in a moment. So here we're looking at the columns. Got a couple of plates and a tile on top, and they just fit into the gap left for them quite nicely. You can see this side wall all the way up this side, which I haven't really focused on. It's just some masonry bricks all the way up, and again this knot arrangement to hold the side on. And we actually start tying it into the bricks along the back of the build, just to make a bit of stability at the top of the build. Same thing happens here. See some of that protruding brickwork, that's just some tile stuck onto some headlight bricks, just a bit of texture and a bit of interest when the light hits it. And then into that last gap we had our final piece of the wall, which is of course our snot part. A couple of little curved pieces just to make the wall flow all the way up to the top. As you can see, it's still hollow on the inside. Looking on top of our dome here, or rather on the back of our dome, see that it's mounted on this flat-ended plate, just so we've got a bit of an illusion to a roof. Just made with these macaroni and these dome pieces. Managed to get a bit of sand green on there. It's about the right proportions, it's the size I want. 8 studs across, but the dome pieces aren't readily available as yet for completing it. Just looking down inside, you see there's not a huge amount of room inside the MOC if I was to add any interior detail. And again on this side we just started to connect the back to the sides using a hinge plate. And that just runs through just below here. So looking at the frontage of the building, got this last reference to an old Gringotts set from the original Gringotts Bank. And although you don't really see it, I wanted to add it in. Because of this protruding corner of the back of the plate, I've had to put a panel piece into the wall just so it can just glide into that gap. So it was starting to tow the front of the building forward, and I didn't want that. We just plugged that in there, and now everything can sit up nice and straight. With a final adjust of our pillars, we are done. So here's the Gringotts MOC. I've got to put that side bit back on in a moment. If we look at the back of it, slightly different style of books to the other ones, not quite as curved. They use these slightly blockier, squarer books. I wanted to make them look a bit like financial ledgers, so I've used these number plate stickers for sort of financial codes to allude to the idea that they're banking books. Some of the back panels are visible due to the way it's built and the size of my display, so I've used dark tan all up the side here, only for 3 out of the 4. Top one's sand blue to represent sort of sky, And these three just match up perfectly with that alley mouth that we built in last week's finishing touches video. So you can see you get kind of a colour continuity across the back of the display. So there's a brief look at the builds we've used to make up our Gringotts, and it looks fine on the table, but it doesn't really come to life until we've popped it up into Diagon Alley. So let's add it to our display. So welcome for a final look at Diagon Alley as we move past the leaky cauldron, Weasley's Wizard Wheezes and Nocturne Alley's entrance, into Flourish and Blot, Florian Fortescue's ice cream parlour, the offices of the Daily Prophet, Quality Quidditch Supplies and Scribulus, Ollivanders and broomsticks on the end, and here to finish it all is Gringotts. Well, I'm on my shelf. Why don't we just have a quick sneaky peek at some upcoming builds? And so, with Gringotts finished, my Diagon Alley display is finished. Next week's video will include the results of the 1000 subscriber competition. If you haven't entered, you can do so up until the 10th of October. All entries received up until that date will be added onto the random name generator, and I'll be showing the results of who's won the prize in next week's video. Thank you very much for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, please leave us a like, share with your friends, and if you'd like to see more Wizarding World hidden scenes, then please subscribe to Bricking It. Bye bye.